In 1878, Bosnia came under the Austro-Hungarian Empire. 3 years later, the area around Bosnia was annexed by the Austro-Hungarian Empire. In 1911, the Black Hand was formed by Serbian army officers seeking liberation of Bosnia from Austrian domination. A year later, a small Balkan War broke out, and in 1913 the war ended. In 1914, World War I was started by the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand in Sarajevo, Bosnia. Years later, in 1984, Sarajevo hosted the Winter Olympics. Then in 1991, Bosnian Serbs began the genocide. After the death of their leader Josip Broz Tito, the nations started to divide. In Bosnia, Muslims represented the largest population in 1971. Serbs and Croats started immigrating to Bosnia, and in 1991 Bosnia's population was 44% Bosniak, 31% Serb. The election in 1990 split the government parties that represented the three ethnicities. Alija Izetbegović was elected president. As tensions rose in Bosnia, the Bosnian Serb leader Radovan Karadzic withdrew from the government and started the Serbian National Assembly. But on March 3, 1992, President Izetbegović proclaimed Bosnia's independence. Bosnian Serbs wanted to be part of a greater Serbia. After the US and European countries recognized Bosnia's independence, the Bosnian Serbs, with the help of Milosevic and the Yugoslav army, bombarded Bosnia's capital, Sarajevo. They started to do an ethnic cleanse in towns in eastern Bosnia. Bosnian Serb forces were in control of nearly 75% of the country by 1993. The UN refused to intervene, but the High Commissioner for Refugees gave humanitarian aid to many displaced, malnourished, and injured victims. In the summer of 1995, only 3 towns in eastern Bosnia remained under the Bosnian government. The UN declared the towns as safe havens and were protected by international peacekeeper forces. On July 11, 1995, Bosnian Serbs advanced towards Srebrenica, which was overwhelming to the Dutch peacekeeping forces. Serbian forces separated the Bosniak civilians, putting women and children on buses and sending them away. Some women were raped or sexually assaulted, while the men and boys who remained were killed immediately or were bused to mass killing sites. In August of 1995, after the Serbs refused to comply with the UN, NATO joined the Bosnian and Croatian forces. They bombed Bosnian Serb positions and a ground offensive. With Serbia's crippled economy, Milosevic agreed to enter negotiations in October, which were held in Dayton, Ohio in November. These negotiations resulted in the creation of a federalized Bosnia divided between a Croat and Bosniak Federation and a Serb Republic. The international community did very little to prevent the genocide. They did seek justice against those who committed the crime. In May 1993, the UN created the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. The ICTY prosecuted Radovan Karadzic and the Bosnian Serb military commander, General Ratko Mladic, for genocide and other crimes. The ICTY has charged more than 160 individuals of crimes relating to the genocide. In 2002, Slobodan Milosevic was charged for genocide. He was found dead in his prison cell in 2006. In 2007, the International Court of Justice issued its ruling in a historic lawsuit brought by Bosnia against Serbia. The court called the massacre at Srebrenica genocide and said that Serbia could and should have prevented it. The court stopped short of declaring Serbia guilty of the genocide itself.
With me here is Hasan Nahanovic, who survived the massacre, and Martin Bell as well, who was with the BBC. He was our principal correspondent during the war in Bosnia. Thank you both very much for joining us. I know it's been 18 years. You've probably relayed the story many times, but could you tell us again what you and your family went through 18 years ago?
Well, having survived the first year of the war, which was actually the most difficult period in our lives, the first year of the Bosnian War was 92, and the beginning of 93. We were without food, electricity, running water, completely surrounded by Serb forces from all sides, and ethnically cleansed from our towns and villages. So Srebrenica for us in 92 was actually the safest place in the region. That's why we tried to go to Srebrenica, and somehow we made it. And we stayed there until the UN finally declared it the UN safe area. So we thought, you know, 40, 50, 60,000 people at the time, we thought we are the lucky ones because we survived, you know, the first 12 months of the war. Many people did not. Thousands did not survive. So we thought, okay, we are in the UN safe area and somebody's going to find some kind of a solution for us. So we'll be there for some time. And then one day, somebody will come and save our lives, save us, take us to a safer place. Or they will come to us, and it will all be like before the war, like Bosnia and Herzegovina as a normal country. However, after 2 years, when the Dutch troops were there, the Serbs launched a major attack again on this UN-safe area. And 6 days later, they occupied the town, and people tried to find shelter. The only logical decision at the moment, on July 11th, when Srebrenica fell to the Serb hands, was to actually move towards the UN Dutch battalion, peacekeepers base, which was 5-6 kilometers north of Srebrenica. So we moved there. The Dutch allowed thousands of people to enter, 5,000 actually, to enter the base, but they did not allow the others. So when the Serbs arrived, they started killing the men and the boys who were outside of the compound. We, the people inside the compound, we could see that happening. So we knew at the moment when we step out of the UN Dutch battalion compound, we will be killed. The Dutch, the day after, the Dutch came to the big factory hall and told everyone inside that big factory hall, get out. Actually, they used me as their translator to, to tell the people to leave the compound without giving them any alternative. They allowed me to remain on the compound because I was a UN local staff. They gave me the contract, 2 years before, so the Dutch did not expel me, but they expelled my family. They expelled my parents and my brother. I was begging them to at least allow me to keep my brother, he was 20 years old, inside the compound. That was the only safe place. The Serbs were all around waiting. So when the people stepped out of the UN compound, they were separated, like men and the boys, from their women and young children. Some of them were killed right there on the spot, and some of them were taken to some other locations and killed there. This is what happened to my family. So this is how I lost my family 18 years ago.